Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to already the third SmartWeb session, my totally non-technical deep dive into the SmartWeb. Before we start, as always, this is not an investment advice. In today's knowledge clip, I would like to introduce you to the principles of decentralized business models, because the big question for you is probably how you can build a business on the SmartWeb and why it's different from something that you already know. We are already in a pretty advanced stage of a totally new smart economy, and the first applications are really already live on the Elastic Smart Web. Businesses are exploring all the opportunities. And I think that the current state is pretty much the wet dream of every entrepreneur, because they're extremely valuable and expensive services that are just at your disposal, that are created for you to use freely. And we're talking about different kind of blockchains, Ethereum Smart Contracts, secure runtime environment, you name it, it's out there waiting for you. So this is very similar to when the World Wide Web was just born. There's so many opportunities, and well, those companies, they grew beyond belief, right? I think that in the smart web, things will not be any different than that. Today I will present two practical examples of business cases with you, which I created just to get your creative strategic thinking going. So these are just first iterations of, to showcase what is possible on the smart web already. And the goal is to trigger you to think about how you can use similar principles to enhance your business and your business model. So let's go. But before I present you to some of the use cases, I would like to explain why it is that you can use these normally very expensive services for free. Because, well, if you would ask a Capgemini or an Accenture of this world to develop this kind of technology for you, you would have to pay millions of US dollars literally to get this fixed for you. So why is it that you can do it for free now? Well, in order to explain the deeper vision behind this, we need to go back in time, and we need to go to one of the founders of the smart web, which is Rong Chen, one of the many people involved in the project. He was actually one of the first Chinese students to study in the US, and he was one of the first employees at Microsoft. So yes, that makes him very senior, right? He's seen it all. The rise of big data, the rise and the pop of the internet bubble, and obviously the growth of the big tech companies. He was part of it. And his vision for a better World Wide Web was obviously not created overnight. It really dates back to his early days as a youngster growing up in rural China. These were very different and difficult times. But I believe that the grand vision, grand strategies, and grand disruptions do not happen overnight. They grow by experience and by people that are trying to solve real pains. Rong decided to leave Microsoft to solve one of the big pains that he saw. He decided to develop a better internet that we all benefit from. Yes, we all benefit, which also means that there can never be one company controlling this new internet, because that would mean that there would be a direct conflict of interest, and would also mean that businesses and users will be exploited. Just look at the latest Amazon crisis, where Amazon developed new products based on deep data insight they got from, well, businesses that sell on Amazon. They used data from their customers to develop new products so that they could directly compete with those small businesses that depend on their platform. This is obviously totally unethical, but perhaps even understandable from Amazon's point of view. They are a business and they do everything to grow. Such a thing could never happen in the decentralized world. So if Amazon were community owned by all of us, we would all benefit from the success. We would all benefit from the success of every small business that operates in Amazon in that case. So that is how the smart web works. Everyone benefits from success, not just one party that controls everything. This also means that soon the Elastic Foundation will in fact not even be in control over the new web anymore. The tech is there anyways. but the decision making itself will be decentralized. We all have the right to participate in the smart web because it benefits us all. We are all stakeholders. How that works exactly is a topic for a different moment, though. There are many blockchains that you can use and that work within the Elastos Smart Web. In fact, in the near future, you will even be able to get your own side chain on demand. So you will be able to own your own blockchain without having to raise all the money to develop it. And without having to deal with security, with nodes and all that sort of stuff, because it's all there. It's just waiting there for you to use it. So where would your cost be then exactly? Well, definitely not in the development part of all these services, because that part is subsidized. However, if you decide to use one of the blockchains, the so-called miners who secure the network will have to get paid for their work. These costs are relatively low, maybe 1/10 of a cent per transaction, but that is something that we cannot subsidize for you. Again, you don't need to spend tens of millions of dollars to just develop all these services because, well, it's there. The network is there, the community is there. So how does the community, so we all benefit then? Well, pretty simple. We, as users, we get ownership over our data. We can get our digital identities that conform to the highest standards, and I'm talking about the World Wide Web Consortium and the DIF. We will be able to communicate with each other privately and securely. And on top of all that, we will be able to explore completely new business models. And that is the topic of today. So now it's time to do a little thought experiment together. And what I'd like to ask you to do is pause the video whenever needed and grab yourself a coffee or get yourself something else to drink. Make sure that you've got a piece of paper and a pen, because what we're going to do is we're going to draw up our little business model. Think ecosystem, think platform, because that's the direction that we'll go right now with this little assignment that we can give to ourselves. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw up all the stakeholders within a food ecosystem. So let's call our platform Foodies Eat, and we're going to use our own Eats coin within our ecosystem. Because the case is as follows: we are all stuck at home, but we're still people that need a basic income. We have got social needs, right? We need to connect with people even though we're all stuck at home. So let's say that within our little topic of the food industry, we kind of identified the following stakeholders. We've got our home chefs, we've got professional chefs, we've got the suppliers of ingredients, such as the local grocery store, we've got individuals that do the delivery, or we've got delivery services, we've got advertisers, and of course, we've got the foodies themselves, because we build this idea around the foodies. Now, what I would like you to do is to write down all the stakeholders and see if you can draw lines between them. So how can we connect all those different stakeholders with each other? We are going to agree that we will try to create value, both monetary and other kinds of value, for all these stakeholders, and we're going to respect data by design. So let's make sure that we stay GDPR compliant, okay? Well, maybe to give you a head start, we can agree that anyone, so a home chef or professional chef, can upload a recipe paired with an instructional video. This makes a home chef or a pro chef kind of like a foodie influencer. Now let's say that every foodie, they can vote once a day. So every day they can vote, and whenever they vote for their favorite recipe of the day, the vote automatically becomes an Eats coin. And its Eats coin can then be used within our ecosystem. Now it's up to you to give this a thought and see if you can connect, for example, well, maybe advertisers with foodies, or, well, something else. Give it a thought, and I'll give you some more ideas in a second. So we made our first connection, and we gave a utility to our Eats token. We had home chefs and pro chefs uploading different recipes, and we had the foodies that were allowed to vote for their favorite recipes, creating some kind of communication between us two. Now let's think about what else we can add to our ecosystem. Because didn't we say that we also had the providers of ingredients, so the local grocery stores? How about either allowing them to team up with the pro chefs so that they can together build those packages, or maybe even create the packages themselves? The recipes are already there, they just need to make the packages. This is very relevant for small businesses, but it could also be relevant to those home chefs because the home chef by default won't be able to create those little packages themselves either. Are you a restaurant owner? Well, how about offering your food packages them yourselves? Of course, it can also be done via the normal route, and in fact, it's already happening. But by doing this in this very interactive way, where you tokenize and gamify things, it's a very special way to build your brand, to get interaction, to interact privately with your audience, and it pretty much becomes a new sales channel. What else can we do? Well, maybe we can have a pro version where restaurants and other businesses can get their own customizable page where they can present their own brands. Maybe we can allow foodies to purchase group cooking sessions using Eats coins, all 100% private and GDPR proof. How cool would that be? And then how about the advertisers? What's in it for them? Because, well, we respect people's data privacy, so we're not going to be able to give away people's data, right? Well, from my perspective, by focusing heavily on food and foodies, as a marketer, as an advertiser, you already know a couple of the most important topics of this target audience. You probably know where they are, but you also know that they have a common interest, which is food, which is privacy, which is respect, fun, and more food. So that all means that you suddenly become very valuable for a specific range of brands, and you become, well, a lot less valuable, less interesting for the other types of brands, which is totally fine because for these brands, this new platform will be a very unique way to build and grow their brand. In fact, like we said before, it can even become a whole new sales channel. So now what we did is that in our minds, we did a thought experiment. You wrote down all those different connections on paper and we created a micro economy around a foodies platform. People pay everything in Eats tokens. They can purchase one-on-one cooking sessions. They can get discount vouchers, all that sort of stuff. This is something that cannot be done in regular fiat like the dollars or the euro. So it's key here to realize and keep in the back of your head that whenever you create a token, you must create value by people using your token. You will never be allowed to promote your token as if it's like a share of your in your company, because it's not. You want to avoid that. Obviously, we can consult you further with that. So these are quite interesting thought experiments that you can already do by yourself. It's very low key, and then if you feel that you've got something interesting, then we can start doing a deep dive together. So with this thought experiment that you can obviously continue by yourself as an exercise, I would like to end this SmartWeb session. In the next SmartWeb session, I would like to continue this topic where I will show you around how to think from an ecosystem perspective, and I will use gaming as a kind of like a point of interest because the gaming industry is quite interesting for the smart web. And I will also give you an example of a business model, a first iteration that's actually created by one of my students that really clearly shows where you can solve big pains in a particular industry. So stay tuned and thank you so much for your time. And as always, if you've got any questions or would like to take a deep dive, you know where to find us. Thank you. See you next time.